All right. Microphone, audio USB device. Okay, good. All right. Ready when you are. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Five, four. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of League of Legends Anonymous, episode 192. This week with me is Alex Wormla. Alec?
Wow.
I.
Wow.
Hey, I tried to go Alec Wormlax and it combined to Alex. You see, that's what happened
I'm
there.
personally offended.
You should be, you piece of shit. Okay,
Wow.
so my people eating friend Alec Wormlax, who's really doesn't eat people, but maybe he's just a little bit curious, and the ghost of Ponderous Sealion. Hey, Ponderous. Ooh. Yeah, he's
Rest
not
in
here this
peace.
week. He's not here this week, but
He's
maybe next
down
week.
Elo hell.
Yeah, he's he's in Elo hell. Hence, hence why he is a ghost. But we're here to talk about patch 8.11 this week because it's a pretty major patch, but I don't want to get bogged down in doing a ton of patch shit because those are typically very boring ass episodes. So, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the new ADC itemization and then maybe talk a little bit about some of the runes and how those will affect things in the bottom lane and kind of what they did to ADCs and is it good, is it bad, and what do we think of kind of each individual item. Keep in mind, I'm going to start this episode with a heavy disclaimer of I just got off work. I have had 0 minutes to play any of this. This is pure first impression theory crafting, so please don't write me a ton of emails or messages or DMs in Discord about how I'm so wrong about this or that. Because while I appreciate the enthusiasm, we are really spitballing here because the whole point of analyzing all of this shit is to give you something to think about, not to do the thinking for you. Right?
Right.
Because that's how you get better.
Yeah,
Okay.
because played like 2 games with all this stuff. It's gonna be a lot to get used to.
I have lost one ARAM with Master Yi since this shit came out. So I'm an expert, is what I'm saying.
Obviously.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so start at the very beginning. Every ADC lost about 4 AD to start with. They gained a little itsy bitsy bit of health and then some growth stats. The idea here being that they want ADCs to be true scalers. And how do you prove that something is a true scalar but by taking 4 AD off of it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I get why they're trying to do this, but I feel like is an unnecessary change for all marksmen.
Like, okay, so to give right their due, what they're saying is here's what we want to do. We want to weaken marksman sustain, right? Meaning that
Mhm.
early damage will stick. However, we want to increase their base health so that way they're not blown up super easy early because supports are strong right now, right? That being said, they also want aggressive marksmen to be able to do their thing, which they haven't really in, I don't know, recent patches or metas, right?
Yeah.
So if they nuke everybody by 4 damage, there's less sustain, then aggressive marksmen get a time to shine because that 4 damage really hurts somebody like Ash, but it doesn't really hurt Draven or Lucian all that much.
Yeah, looking at this, like the actual stats now, I worry about this meta because anytime you go towards the later scaling is when you get into the heal bot lanes where you're just trying to get to like you don't care about laning at all, and you're only caring about getting to that mid or late game, and that makes for pretty stale play, in my opinion.
So, okay, this is like the classic Riot balancing thing, and I'm not trying to shit on Riot's balance team. I think they actually occasionally do some smart things. And I think that like some of the times it's weird. Riot has this like sausage machine of balancing where they like dump in a whole bunch of inputs, they turn a crank, and then something comes out of the back end, right? And the problem is there's no way to predict whether what they put in is going to be like sausage or plastic, right? And it doesn't make any sense. I don't know, but like they have an idea of something that they want to do and a general direction that they want to follow, and then they go the most backwards way to get there and like kind of backwards logic justify it when most of the time everybody in the community they're like, okay, so we want to get from A to Z. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to A to M to the number 7 and then to Z, right? And everybody goes, I mean, okay. Or you could just turn the alphabet backwards and then you go A, Z, Y, X. And
Yeah.
then
I
the
mean,
community does that and they don't follow Riot's weird circuitous path to get there, right?
yeah.
This is kind of one of those things where they're like, we wanted to give early game ADCs a time to shine, and then we made everything later game and all the items more expensive.
Yeah. The big one I'm seeing here that I actually didn't notice before, did you see how much health that Vayne lost? Vayne went from 598 to 515. Is that a typo? I feel like that's a
No,
typo.
that's right there in the patch notes. Like she lost. Damn.
That's insane. I feel like that might. Is that supposed to be like 615? Because everyone else gained health,
Yeah,
and she
Zaya
lost.
gained health.
She lost 70 health.
Nah, shit. That's got to be a typo. That's got to be
It's got to be a
615
typo because
yeah, everybody else was gaining, and then she just got a hatchet. That doesn't make any sense.
that's got to be a typo. I was
Vayne
sitting
was
here
good
for a second,
enough.
like.
She's too fucking tanky. Like Twitch, they gave health to too. Like literally everybody else. So it's not like a hyper carry thing. Kog'Maw, he got health. So that's got to be a typo. But
Yeah, I feel like this just plays exactly into what I like, and this doesn't mean as much for like solo queue as much because people are still aggressive in solo queue. But like part of the reason that I've had a rough time watching like League of Legends Pro level recently is how boring it can get. It's like really slow pace, and that just like this just plays right into that.
okay, so here's my concern, right? Is the openers. Like what are you going to buy as an opener, right? As an ADC. You pretty much have to buy either Essence Reaver or like Gensu's. Right? Those are the only ones I think that are still really viable because Gensu's was strong, hasn't been touched. Infinity Edge was never a good opener item. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
Like it was too expensive and you need crit to make it good.
Yep.
So
Now you really need crit.
now
Worthwhile.
now you must have crit to even make it do anything. And that's a big I mean cuz it doesn't even give you crit. It just doubles the crit you have. So until you buy some crit, the item just sucks. It's 3,700 gold for what, 80 AD?
Yeah, and building out 2 BF swords, so it's not even like something like a Yo moves where you can build like the long sword slowly and start getting the components. It's like you need to have these huge gold spikes to go back and get it.
Yeah. And I mean, you had a couple of champions that were building Rageblade right off the bat, like
Mhm.
every game. Like, it was really good on the new chick, Kaisa. It was really good on her.
Kaisa.
It was good on Varus. I'm trying to think of who else.
Debatable on Kog'Maw.
Debatable on Jhin. I've seen some people say it's really good on Jhin. Some people say nah. But these
It
are
was like
all
broken for a little bit on him. I think that was the main reason. Like it made his fourth. It was like actually broken with the way his fourth shot worked. So I think that's been patched and it's not quite as good as it used to be.
yeah. But I mean, all that stays the same. They didn't touch that item, and it's still good and cheap as an early game starting ADC item, right? The
Hmm.
question is, well, let's talk about Essence Reaver because that's going to be your other one, right? And okay, so Essence Reaver, according to Riot, is quote the ultimate power spike. And they're reshaping Essence Reaver around a power spike, allowing spellcasting marksmen to double down on their spell slinging fantasy and unleash their spells in rapid barrage. So, what does that mean? Okay, the item got 200 gold cheaper. The build path changed from having a cloak of agility in it to having a sapphire crystal in it, and 450 gold instead of a 200 gold combined cost. So, cloak of agility makes it like it's way easier to get a sapphire crystal than it is to get a cloak of agility. It gives you some of that early game mana, which is really good on spell slinging marksman. Whereas a cloak of agility kind of sucks until you build a
Hmm.
good amount of crit, right? The item doesn't give you crit anymore. Instead, and it doesn't restore mana on crits. It just restores mana on basic attacks. And it says basic attacks on anything restores mana,
No.
right? 1% missing mana. So, the unique passive then becomes after you cast your ultimate, your next basic attack within 10 seconds grants Essence Flare for 8 seconds. What Essence Flare does is it grants 30% attack speed and causes basic attacks to refund 20% of your remaining non ultimate cooldowns. 30 seconds. Okay.
I'm real worried about this item, to be honest.
This is going to make Lucian go nuts.
Yeah, it would be good on Lucian.
I mean, I'm just thinking of a situation where you dash in, double shot, Q, double shot. Or, like, well, first off, you ult. Then you dash in, double shot, Q, double shot, W, double shot. That is Essence Flare
Hmm.
plus 5 other procs of Essence Flare, meaning all of your abilities are automatically back on. So you can then dash, double shot,
Yeah,
Q,
your
double
E is
shot.
getting lower cooldown from auto attacking.
Uh huh.
I think it's weird because like having Essence Reaver in this place will help some champions that didn't do as well in the early game because you don't have to like have crit right away to do damage. But at the same time, I can't see Essence Reaver being like worthwhile to build if you really want to get to your crit build, like as a different
Well, it
champion.
has nothing to do with crit now. Like,
Exact.
that's the
That's what
thing.
I'm saying. Like it really, like it. So because it has completely taken itself out of like the crit build path, which like I understand why they want to move away from that. I just, I'm just weirded out by what that means for like it as an item. Like if crit, non-crit champions aren't doing as well. Like if this happens, like Lucian, like still isn't doing that well in the meta. Like you're gonna see everyone just circumvent this item. Like it's just not
I
gonna get
don't see
used.
how Lucian couldn't do well with this item.
Well, it's
Like,
not that I don't think Lucian doesn't do well with this item. It's that like crit is so important for like ADCs and like your damage late game. Like, will people even play that very much, or will they only like? Is this
no, no.
really gonna
Well, hold up.
make a meta shift?
I think, like I said, this item, it used to be you'd have a 4 item build path with this item in crit. It actually even mentions that in the patch notes. It's like, hey, you'd build this, but then you'd want a zeal item because, hey, why wouldn't you, right? Because you need crit to
Right.
get your mana back. Okay, well, then you built a zeal item. Well, now you might as well build an infinity edge, and at that point, why not just build to 100% crit?
Yeah.
So that's 4 items in your path, right?
Yeah.
There is no reason that you couldn't take this item and still build crit with it. I mean, you could,
Hmm.
because ADCs almost all want attack speed, and that's what those Zeal items bring to the table aside from crit. But you could pair this with the other new item for like kind of an all in focus item, right?
Hmm.
But that being said, yeah, I think you're right. I think you are going to want some crit, especially with the Infinity Edge changes. If you're going to try to take down tanks, I think you're going to want crit. I
Yeah.
think what they're doing to Last Whisper is going to be strange. I don't know how that's going to work out.
Yeah, we'll
Uh,
see.
Man, I don't know. They've shaken up so many variables that I don't have a feel for what this is going to mean. It's kind of
It
exciting, but at the
it
same time, it's
does.
also. Ugh.
Yeah, it does make the like Last Whisper, the full item, like Lord Dominic's or Mortal Reminder, more worth it.
Okay, well, hold
Because you
on.
get
Let's talk about that real quick. Before we say
yeah,
why, let's say what it did,
yeah,
right? So, Last Whisper has gone from being 35% target bonus armor to 10% target total armor. Lord Dominic's went from 10 or 35% bonus armor to 35% total armor penetration, but you lose the 0 to 20 health difference bonus physical damage horseshit that was on it before.
hmm
That being said, it loses 10 AD and costs 200 gold more. The Giant Slayer is removed, and instead they're building it Pickaxe Last Whisper 625 gold. Mortal Reminder, which is the cousin of Lord Dominic's, but it's the one that does grievous wounds. Uh, Same stats, 40 AD, 2800 gold. It has the same build path as it had before, but instead of having 35% bonus armor pen, it has 25% total armor pen. So, the difference being is that Lord Dominic's is now the one that you're going to want to get to shoot tanks. This you will only ever buy if they have sustained champions.
yeah. They really are shifting it away from like. I feel like Lord Dominic's just like was never the better option. Pretty much, if there was any sustain at all on the other team, it's like you should get a Moral Reminder. But now with that extra 10%, like you really need a healing enemy on the other team to like want to get the Moral Reminder instead.
I feel like Mortal Reminder is just now mega niche, right?
Yeah,
And the funny thing is, I wonder how this is going to impact a champion like Mundo, who's going to have an insane amount of armor, but is also going to have an insane amount of sustain.
yeah,
Because you would have bought Mortal Reminder anyway, but now it's going to be Mortal Reminder and he's harder to kill.
yeah. The thing about these changes, now I see like if with that like 35% total armor penetration with being total, not bonus, like these could turn into more like niche rush items for like assassins.
I
Because
could
that
see
means
that.
no matter what now you're getting the armor penetration instead of just if they're actually building armor.
Yeah. I mean,
Which
it's
is
good
why
against
lethality is so
everybody. Yeah, it's good
yeah.
against everybody now. And I mean,
hmm
that's the thing is 30% armor pin is like so much flat pin. Because it's hard to find a target like towards the mid game that doesn't have somewhere around like 50 armor,
hmm
right? Or more, right?
Yeah.
And if they have 50 armor and you have 35% armor pin, well, you now just took off 17 and a half armor, which is the equivalent of 17 and a half flat pin.
Yeah.
And you're still good versus tanks, or you do better versus tanks, right?
Yeah.
Which, to a certain degree, was necessary because tanks have kind of been stomping everybody for a while now.
Yeah.
But, ah, you know, I think
Honestly, that's what I see out of these changes, like with the ADC stuff, is like it will change up how the ADCs build stuff, but I think assassins are gonna see the biggest like change to their play style.
you know what's funny
Because
is in reflecting on this, I feel like Last Whisper is shit.
yeah,
Like it's just
yeah,
really a shit item, and you should get you can't sit on that anymore. Like
no, not at all.
10% total armor pin is fucking garbage for how much that item costs.
Yeah.
So
How how much armor pen does shoot? What's Dustblade give? I want to look that up real quick.
no, that's fine. While you're
Uh,
looking that up, I'll just kind of wrap around to what I'm saying here. So like the idea is they said, oh yeah, we wanted to get this because once tanks really armor up, damage dealers feel bad if they didn't purchase this earlier. Now you can buy it, and it'll scale against tanks, and it'll feel less like a dead end against other squishies. This will
Mhm.
still feel like shit against other squishy champions. Because if they have 50 armor, you get 5 armor pin.
Yeah, and
Whoa!
serrated Dirk gives 10. So you're in the early game, it's going to be always more worth it to if you want armor pen to get a serrated Dirk for then eventually a dust blade, which gives 18 lethality. So the second that people get like more armor, like one armor item, the last whisper will be more, or the full item like the Lord Dominic's or the mortal or mortal reminder, like those will become more worth it within like a more mid game range instead of the late game that it used to be.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that. So you're saying it has 18, right? On a Duskblade.
Yep.
How much was on the Dirk alone? What did you say?
The Dirk is 10.
Okay. So they have to have 100 armor is the break-even point to be even on a Dirk, and this costs 200 gold more.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it scales, so it's an investment. It's 200 gold investment you're making, but they have to have 100 gold for it to be or 100 armor for it to be a break-even point. And all of your squishy champions will never get to 100 armor for a long time, if at all. I mean, your mid may buy like Seekers, because that gives like 60 armor or something stupid whenever you
Yeah.
build it into Zanya's. But until that point, until they get that item, this is kind of horseshit,
Yeah.
right? But if you build it into Dominic's, then it's real good. Like, it just feels like this item just has no identity other than it's a placeholder item for the next level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even feel as good as a serrated Dirk in my possession. And it's
Yeah,
going to cost
until
me
you.
more.
Yep.
So,
Even on ADCs a lot. I think the reason they changed that though is like you really have to have a reason to buy this on ADCs. Like crit and healing items are just like so more worth it. It's like, well, yeah, I could get this armor pen to do like more armor penetration to someone, but if I had this like Mercurial Scimitar to do more healing and also like get out of a CC, like I'll live to eventually kill that tank anyways.
mm. So we've talked about that. I mean, there's not much more to say about that other than that is going to be a pretty big shift, particularly in the late game, to how quickly you can destroy a tank. Right? It will make a rather large difference. Because keep in mind, bonus versus total armor is a huge difference maker. And, the reason you saw a bunch of lethality shit in the meta was whenever, like, people didn't build that tanky. Because, like, a full tank build didn't do much into, like, lethality didn't do much into that. Right? Now, this will actually make a difference if you build the completed item. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about crit. Let's talk about Big Daddy crit item, IE. Right? So here's what they've done to the Infinity Edge. They've updated its icon to look almost exactly the same. I mean, that is so fucking
Breaking
similar.
new
I
ground
really,
here.
yeah, like whoa. Don't reinvent the wheel, guys. Okay. It's still a triangular shaped sword. Okay. So the total cost goes up by 300 gold to 3,700, which, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't that match like the death cap? Isn't the death cap like 3,700 or something?
Think so.
Because Bloodthirster used to be 3,700, or is death cap 38? I don't know.
Checking right now. Death cap is 3,600.
Wow.
So 100 more than death cap.
Yeah, suck it, ADCs. Get your deep pockets ready. So we have a death cap that, or basically the AD equivalent to a death cap. So what does it do? BF sword, 1,100 gold combined cost. That's a rough, like, build path.
It's really rough.
You have to sit on 2 BF swords and then 1,100 more gold that you can't put into any items. Like it would
And
actually
you
be,
should already have other crit, otherwise this is gonna be like useless.
yeah, yeah. So if you were gonna try to rush this, you'd have to go like BF sword, crit like zeal, BF sword, finish IE, finish zeal item, right? I don't think that's a real build. It's
No, that's gonna
too
be rough.
much. You're gonna sit
Yeah.
on too many secondary items to get that shit done. Cause like you get a synergy by completing items. Like it, and it's real, and you should pay attention to that, right? This, it feels like it was a trap item for people to build first anyway, because you could
Hmm.
build this and then still lose to a more consistent first item, right? Like I could easily see somebody building an old Infinity Edge and then losing to somebody who built a Bloodthirster first,
Yeah, because at
right?
that point you're just hoping for the RNG crits.
Right. It's like you roll little dice, like 1 out of 4 every time. And am I going to get a crit? Am I going to get a crit? And if you don't, you can still lose, right?
Hmm.
Even though that was a thing, I don't. I think it's a bad item to start, particularly now that it doesn't actually give you crit, but it doubles it. Because it
Yep.
requires a more substantial investment. And crit is not cheap to purchase. Like if you buy, they changed the new like brawler's gloves is now more expensive. It costs 600 gold, and it has a unique crit chance. The zeal is now 1300 from 12. So yeah, all
And
that
lower
is
critical strike chance.
yeah, and the critical strike chance drops from 20 to 15. So everything about crit is more expensive, literally, and less effective. I don't think this is something you can ever justify as a first item anymore. So, what is it? But still, what does it actually do? We've just got through the build path. So the AD goes from 70 to 80, which is good because you're building out of 2 fucking BF swords. And
Better get some
then,
more ID.
yeah, you better get some more AD. No shit, right? And then it doubles your crit strike chance, so you become instantaneous Yasuo, which is fun. Then unique passive, 15% of your critical strike damage is converted to true damage. Okay. What do you think of like what's your opinion of that particular unique passive?
I think that it's kind of a hit to take to it, really, because 15% compared to 50% bonus crit damage, even if that's not true damage, like more likely than not, I feel like that's doing more damage. And I feel like with the added cost of this item and it not being as effective on its own, like I feel like that's just a huge hit to this item in general.
You know what's
And then
weird? Like I haven't mapped the thought out on this yet, and I think probably I should before I talk too much, right? But it used to be 250% crits. Like that's what you would get is 250% crit damage. A crit automatically did 200%. So you get that extra
yeah,
50% is what you're talking about, is where the 50 comes in, right?
right.
That's gone. And
Hmm.
so instead we have 15% crit damage goes to true. It feels like this, in combination with everything else that they have done, is purely designed to kill tanks.
Yeah. And it's going to matter more late game because in the early game, that bonus crit would do more damage than a 15% critical strike with or the true damage because they're not going to have as much armor. Once they get more the armor into the later game, they are going to be doing dealt more damage with the true damage. But that's like a pretty late scaling thing. So again, like this is just all the hey ADCs are late game, like champions of the late game.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing that I am super concerned about, right? Your build path. So you used to build Infinity Edge 2 crit items, right? And that was so you go Infinity Edge, you'd have what on there? Like 20% crit, right?
Hmm.
You'd build something like any of those, like rapid fire cannon, shiv, hurricane, whatever, right? And
Hmm.
all of those items would give you a nice chunk of crit. You usually build like maybe one more, or something else to give you that little final crit bump. So you got a real high crit chance, and then you'd either do some sort of sustain or some sort of attack speed again or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Now I was looking at a deal today that it basically talked about. It used to be you would do that and then you'd get to 100. And now you do that, and with Infinity Edge doubling your crit, you go to 120 crit.
Yeah.
And
So you're
so,
wasting
yeah,
stats.
you get 20% wasted stats by using the same build path to get there. The difference is you can get there in 3 items instead of 4.
Right.
But those 3 items are ungodly fucking expensive
Yeah.
and slow to amp unless you just nail the RNG train, right?
And with the nerfs to fleet footwork, you're more likely going to need some lifesteal in your build.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like lifesteal is going to become a thing again, and they've also kind of noted that, oh, by the way, we made both lifesteal items cheaper, teehee,
Yep.
right? But this kind of goes back again to, okay, so you have the Essence Reaver, which is like super cooldown reduction item, right?
Hmm.
And especially on like Corky could be an abuser of that because literally every 30 seconds, you
Yeah, you
know,
can keep using your ultimate.
you keep using your ultimate over and over and over again, which that's nuts, right? But like
Hmm.
maybe he'll be an ADC again with that item, who knows? But or maybe he'll just take it mid.
Yeah,
More
just take
more
it mid
likely,
is what I
more likely
expect.
he'll probably just take it
Yeah.
mid. But I mean, these kind of things, like I don't know what item you start with crit to get there. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like, what do you
you're
do?
like in
Do
the
you?
hole no matter which way you go, pretty
Yeah, yeah.
much.
Because it's like, are you gonna build what? I mean, what are you gonna build? You'd never want to start a crit item like rapid fire cannon or any zeal item off the beginning, because that just sucks. Because you have, okay, so you have some crit and no damage to double.
Yeah, you're just shooting peas at the
Yeah,
people.
you're shooting like frozen peas. Like they're still peas, but they're a little harder, and maybe they sting a little bit. And somebody's like, "Ow, why'd you do that?" And then they pull out their real handgun and they shoot you in the face. Like
Yeah.
it's not. You know, that's never been a good build path, literally for anybody ever. Except when people were building like one BF sword and then going into a crit item, because then you've actually got something to double, right?
Yeah,
But
I
I like,
wonder.
how do you bridge that gap? Like, what item are you building? Because the other item, which is Storm Razor, it's the new item, doesn't seem to work very well with crit. Like, it doesn't,
No, it doesn't give you any crit. So
yeah, it
again, you're
doesn't
just.
bridge you into crit.
Yeah, I think what like what you might see, and maybe this won't work for like pro or like higher elos because they're more patient and better players, but you might just see aggressive laners take over because if you play someone like Lucian or Draven, you can build some of these lower costing items that they've given a little bit of a buff to, like Blade of the Ruined King, Essence Reaver, and get like some good power spikes in before the other people are even close to theirs. Because like I feel like crit ADCs, you just have to bite the bullet and just be like, all right, I'm gonna be useless until I get a decent amount of the way into these builds.
Okay, so let's talk about like Storm Razor, this new item. It's 3,200 gold. It's BF sword, pickaxe, dagger, 725 gold. So kind of very similar to this to the build path of like old Infinity Edge, except instead of a cloak of agility, it's a dagger, and then the combined cost is high. The AD on it is 70, which is standard BF sword item AD power spike. You get 30 attack speed, And then the
Hmm.
passive is Storm's Edge. If you haven't attacked in the last 3 seconds, scaling down with attack speed, your next basic attack will critically strike for 160 damage, plus 1% per 1.5 critical strike chance, max 200, and grant 10% movement speed for 1.75 seconds.
Like, I feel like this is a good item to have early game. Like, it's good to have this damage and attack speed in the early game. But again, you just get into what are you looking to play? Because if you're playing someone like Vayne, Sivir, or Caitlyn, like it'll be good right off the bat if you're ahead. But then if you don't get to your critical strike items, like you could have a pretty lame middle game while you're trying to build up those items.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't think there is a bridge item to crit. I think the
Yeah.
way they've kind of set this up is like you pick your first item, then you build crit,
Yeah.
right? And I think we might see like first item Bloodthirster or first item Bork become a thing again. You
Yeah,
know,
I think
because I
first
don't know
item
what
Bork will be
other,
good.
or like again, Gensu's is still an item that's still
Hmm.
good and it still has a strong power spike, and I don't think any of that changed.
Hmm.
So you can build that and then build it into crit because you're going to get attack speed, you're going to get crit out of that, and you still have a strong item as a backbone. And the champions that can use Essence Reaver will go Essence Reaver probably into crit,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just, who's doing something different than that? Like, who's building Stormrazor? Because
Yeah.
they specifically mentioned Jin in this. Like, he would be intrigued by this item.
I
Because
think I think Draven could go Stormrazor early.
why
He's
would
just
you want to, though? It's redundant. And I mean, Draven has mana problems,
yeah, that's
right?
true.
And he
Like
doesn't have
Essence Reaver would
cooldown.
just be so much better on him.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
doesn't have cooldown problems,
Yeah.
right? So it's like that's the problem. Is like he doesn't synergize super well with Essence Reaver. Well, I guess you get in a sweet cooldown on your stand aside.
Yeah.
So you go stand aside, basic attack, like ult, stand aside, basic attack, basic stand aside, basic attack, basic. You know, because you've got your W that keeps you on somebody.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much a kill button. But and you need a way to get mana back with Draven because he is so mana hungry when you press W because you're
I
gonna
just
keep
wonder if the
hitting it.
Stormrazor is like so that like burst of it, like you could really just hold a lane down if you get it early. Like it's got a pretty good build path for anyone that has decent like can play in the early game well because of the BF pickaxe. Like it's the same thing as what Infinity Edge used to be. It's good AD for you early, but then because its ability, like its crit part, doesn't rely on RNG, it's like, hey, like it's ready now. Like now we go.
Hmm.
Like that could be really conducive to like, hey, I built on Draven, we're a little bit ahead. Like now, whenever this is up, we just go on them. Like
Yeah,
we
we
just,
just drop the boom right now.
yeah, yeah,
But I mean, still, it says they're indicating that they want it on ADs that have a longer pause between auto attacks, whether they're kiting or just have long attack cooldowns. We're looking at you, Jen.
yeah.
Right? I mean, is this something that you're gonna want to use on Jen?
If they get it to work correctly,
Yeah,
I
well,
think,
right now it's bugged, so you don't want to use it
yeah.
until they fix that bug.
But I think they do because, like, you do because it is a strong item for like the damage and gold wise. I feel like it's pretty efficient. I I just really think that you're gonna see either people trying to steamroll like in the early game, so they don't have to worry about like the other person getting crit, or you just hold out until you can actually have decent crit items.
Mhm. Where, but then like okay, so the lifesteal items that spoiler they cost less, right? By 200 gold. So,
Hmm.
whoa, them savings, right? Uh, Bloodthirster, which was 3,700 gold, is now 35. I don't think it was worth 3,700 gold when it was 3,700 anyway. and I don't
Mm-mm.
recall really seeing anybody build it unless they just needed lifesteal and they're like, well, got a bunch of money. Like I didn't. This item, I like the overshield is still not enough to make you tanky.
Yeah.
You're still gonna explode with the overshield or not. It just had a good amount of lifesteal on it, and it did a high AD, right?
Yeah.
Or you got Bork because it has lifesteal on it and it has attack speed. It's like
And
which,
it has the damage that's good against high health targets.
and it has the utility
Percent
of like,
health.
hey, I'm gonna hit you and steal your move speed or whatever. And that was always handy.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's right back to where like you're still, if you want a lifesteal item like the other three besides Bloodthirster are just too like have too many things that are going for them. Like you have Mercurial Scimitar, which gives you QSS, which is always helpful. You have Blade of the Rune King, which has a slow and percent health, so it's good against tanks. And then you have Death's Dance, which stops burst more effectively than the Overshield does.
So
So,
here's something that's a bit of a curiosity to me as well. In all the Zeal items, right? Because I thought this may have been a typo, but I just looked in the League client and it is not a typo, right?
mhm.
So like we said, Brawler's Gloves got a little bit more expensive. Cloak of Agility is now gone, which is fine because that item didn't really have an identity anyway. It was just more expensive crit.
Yeah,
And anytime that you'd build it, you're like, man, I really wish I would have built a Zeal. So just kind of sucked. Uh,
yeah.
the Cloak of Agility is gone. Zeal's now 1300, and then all of the items that you'd build like a Zeal into went up to 2900 gold, except Phantom Dancer, which is 2800 gold. Why? Why is it 100 gold cheaper?
I'm
It wasn't
not really
before. They were
sure.
all 2600 before. Eh,
I don't know why they did that. Yeah, they just were like, yeah, I guess this one's not as expensive.
but
Just fuck it.
but why? Like it doesn't make any sense at all because the other two,
No, it
like
doesn't.
it has literally the same build path. Because I thought, well, maybe it's just like a build path thing or something. But no, it's got the same build path as Runon's, and it's 2900.
Yeah.
And the other two, Kerchis and Rapid Fire, or the other two that build out of Kerchis, which is Rapid Fire and Shiv, have the same build, and they're both 2900.
Maybe they don't give the passive as much of a gold efficiency as the other items.
Well, I mean, they
Because it's
did
not.
before. They didn't
Yeah,
change any of these
I
items.
I agree with your like thought process here. Like they definitely there's no like sound reasoning behind it, but maybe they like came to that conclusion. They're like, like people, and this is a little true. Like people aren't really building Phantom Dancer on the main crit ADCs, so maybe they want to be like, oh,
Yeah,
like
but I mean,
it's
that's
not
not
as
to
gold
say it.
efficient.
Yeah, but that's not to say it didn't have a niche. Like
Yeah,
it definitely did, and there were times at which you'd want to buy it over these others. You know,
right.
But yeah, the joke of it was most of your ADCs would want to buy, like they would have a synergy with Runons, or they'd have a synergy with Rapid Fire Cannon, or they'd have a synergy with Shiv. Like
Hmm.
it slots into what that ADC is trying to do. Or you could be like, well, I'm gonna buy Shiv for the wave clear, right?
Hmm.
Or I'm gonna buy Rapid Fire Cannon if I'm like Lucian, right? And I need that extra bump distance, or I'm gonna buy Runons if I'm Jinx or Kog'Maw or whatever, right? Like,
Hmm.
or maybe even like it worked on Kaisa for a while, but then they nerfed that, and I'm not sure if that's still something you'd build on her or not. But
Yeah, it's not quite as good.
yeah, I didn't think it is, but yeah, it used to be good because it would like completely ravage the cooldown on her E, and she'd just go invisible
Right.
all the time. But that doesn't happen anymore, and now she's kind of low range. So the
Hmm.
Runon's bolts are low range, so it's not something you really love, right? But
Yeah, it's not super worth it.
yeah, but Phantom Dancer was always good on anybody who was going to like duel, right? Like
Right.
any of your Yu-Gi-Oh ADCs.
I like that one. I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, like you see it on Vayne a lot, and even like on a non-ADC end, like you see it on Yasuo, because Yasuo, like you have to fight, you have to go in, so
Mhm.
it's better for him.
But I mean, yeah, it had an identity, and I don't understand that change, other than like, throw him a bone, I guess.
Fuck it, 100,
Yeah,
100
fuck it.
lines.
Well, I typed it wrong, and we wrote it wrong in the patch. You want to just leave it like that, so we don't have to change it? Yeah, if it's a problem, we'll address it next patch. I bet you next patch is going to be like, hey, we just noticed that we got the gold value on this one wrong. Whoops.
It's, it's gonna be like some spaghetti code. Yeah, when Phantom Dancer was 2,900 gold, actually Teemo was invincible, so we
So
had
we
to
had to
bring
fix it.
some weird line of code that just intermingled somehow. So yeah, we had to bring it down 100 gold.
It was just a small indie company. You know?
Nothing special.
We can't expect 8s and 9s to not be the same thing. All right, so Mob Malmortis took a bit of a buff. The magic resist went up by 5, and the shield value went from 300 plus 100% of your bonus magic resist to just 350. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that would seem like a nerf because anybody who's like, oh man, but that scaling is just gone now, right? ADCs weren't building a lot of magic resist to scale with.
Yep.
You built this item. That was pretty
Yep.
much it. That's all the you. If you built more defensive stats than that, you probably weren't being effective as an ADC, right?
Yep.
Like your defensive stats come from your positioning and hiding behind your allies and doing damage from afar and shit like that, right? Not necessarily from like actually being tanky.
Yeah, that's the only thing. People that shield damage is hurting is or percentage is like melee bruisers who might build it who have other magic resist items.
Hmm. But
That's
I don't,
very niche
and that was
market.
niche anyway. So I don't. That's not bad. That's
No.
not bad at all. I think that's actually probably a net buff.
Yeah, I think so.
So, and you know the extra 5 MR makes up for anything you lost in the shield anyway.
Yeah, I think this just doesn't really change anything about Ma. You want to build it when you need it. Other than that, meh.
Okay. The last one that I think we're going to talk about, then we can probably just wrap up the episode unless you've got some like current thoughts. Well, we can talk about runes and then we'll wrap up because the runes got a lot of changes, right? Guardian Angel. So here's what they did. And at first, this to me, like I wanted to talk about this one because I saw it at first and I went, well, that's a nerf. And then I went, wait a minute. No, it's not. Like that's fine. So here's where my brain went, right? So first things first, total cost is up 400 gold. So it's 2400 to 28. The build path, BF sword, cloth armor, stopwatch, 200 gold, is now BF sword, chain vest, stopwatch, 100 gold. And the armor goes up by 10 from 30 to 40 on the item. Okay. Here's why I think this is a good change. One, that item was way too fucking cheap. Like,
Yeah.
it was a BF sword and then 1100 gold, and you could just buy it outright.
Yep.
Like, there was a game I was playing last night where I bought a BF sword to build into some lifesteal or something, and then the team was doing so poorly, I was like, well, fuck it. And then I bought GA,
Yeah.
and it saved the game with what money I had in my pocket. I shouldn't be able to buy GA with what money I have in the couch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I turn over the couch cushions, I shouldn't buy something that's able to give me an extra life and armor and invincibility
Yeah.
if I bought a stopwatch, right? Like, because you also could use the stopwatch while you were
Yeah.
building, right?
Yeah, that was the other thing. You build the stopwatch in, you go and you use it well, like to save your skin somewhere, and then you go back and finish the GA.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's a real good like set of build path, and it's really really good for the price point.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
I think is better though, and here's why. I think it actually makes sense in certain situations for an AD to sit on a chain vest. Like, if the Fed mid assassin, I mean, is a chain vest going to save your life? Maybe. I mean, there are situations where maybe, like if the guy's not super fed, if they're
Yeah.
super duper fed, or you're just facing like a lane bully or something that, well, actually, I really can't imagine too many situations where you'd want to sit on a chain vest. But I like the fact that you have the agency to do that. And I thought this item was too cheap for what it gave you anyway.
Yeah.
So this is a good way to, one, give you more agency to build what you need in the event you need it, and two, balances out the item better itself by making it
Yeah.
a little bit more expensive. I don't have a problem with either of those things. I like changes that give people agency. Like this to me is the opposite of what they did with the support like Sightstone changes. I hate those fucking changes. I hate them.
Hmm.
People are like, oh, but Blake, it's now cheaper to get your Sightstone. Isn't that better? No, because I can't buy a fucking Sightstone if I need one. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I lost the agency to make that decision for
Yep.
what is necessary, right? I have to complete a fucking stupid quest. And that's really obnoxiously shitty when you have to pick, like, Face of the Mountain.
Yep.
Like, you realize in a diamond fucking solo queue game, in a diamond fucking solo queue game, I got 0 cannons because the AD did not let me have a single one. Do you know when I completed my Sightstone?
Way too late.
Just, take a guess. Pre this
Like,
patch, when would I have completed my Sightstone?
I mean, pre the patch that like changed Sightstone to
Mhm,
where it
mhm.
was, it
Yeah,
you
yeah.
probably would have gotten it like at like I don't know, like first or second back.
Correct. First or
Yeah.
second back. So under 10 minutes for
Yeah.
sure. Right?
So this one, what? It was like 15, 20 minutes until you
19
got.
minutes and
Oh
24
my
seconds.
god.
Like, I had no vision on the map for 19 minutes. People were like, this support is fucking worthless. We have had no vision all game. And I'm like, I can't even get the fucking minions. Like,
It's not
this
my
guy will
fault.
not give me the fucking minions. And I'm giving them to him for free. Right? It just,
Yeah.
that item has become terrible now because the way in which I have to cash it in requires somebody to actually be understanding of that
Yeah.
and accept me going for the cannons.
Yeah,
Right?
it's all about the choice. It's like, hey, I want Sightstone now, so I'm gonna grab it early because of the way the game is going. Instead of, and like that's where like I agree with you with these Guardian Angel changes. Before it's just kind of like, well, I got some gold and it's a good item for what it's worth. Like I should get it. Whereas now it's like, okay, I really need to think about is this item worth getting? Like, do I need to get to it?
hmm And it's
Um,
like I said, I like changes that give agency rather than take it away. So I'm actually cool with this. It was too cheap anyway. It needed to be more expensive. And if an ADC needs to sit on a chain vest, they can. If they don't, they can sit on the stopwatch. You know, doesn't really
yep.
matter, right? Banner of Command. Actually, I think this change is good. It does what it's supposed to now. I'm not going to talk about it, but they basically just changed it from it's immune to magic damage to now it like takes 70% less damage from all champions, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So if your AD goes and shoots it, it's not going to instantly die, you know, but a mid can actually clear it with abilities.
Yeah. I feel like it's a buff to if you can like take it down your solo lane, like just one on one against someone to try to push towers. But the second that thing gets into like against a team, it's the same as what it used to be. Like it's gonna go down pretty easily.
Really? 'Cause I felt like that's a better situation for it. So,
I
okay,
mean,
hear me out. One on one, if you're against an AP mid laner and you banner of command a minion, it's gonna wreck their shit. They can't clear it,
right?
right?
Yeah,
So, oh shit, I have to spend like 300 auto attacks on this stupid banner of command minion, right? And I can't
yeah,
leave my wave, and I can't do anything because this thing's just gonna rape my tower and now I'm stuck here, right?
Hmm.
Whereas if you're against an AD, then you never build this item because it's no threat. It doesn't do anything. It just dies. It's bigger and it dies. Like,
Right. I
okay.
feel like it was just made so much for like for a while it was like only being built by supports to just like put on the opposite end of your team. Whereas now with like the 70% damage reduction from champions, like all encompassing champions, even if you're against a AD top laner or something, you could build it to go against them. Like I
Hmm.
feel like that helps against that because like I see what you're saying. It's like yeah, if it is an AP person, like they were just fucked. But now it's like with the 70% across all champions, it can be used against some of those ones that before like it couldn't be. I think that's more like works more towards a like split pushing situation when you're actually up against someone instead of just like putting it in an empty.
Well, I also think this could actually be more useful. Like you would use it like you would the big ass scuttle crab guy, Rift Herald.
Oh, Rift
Yeah,
Herald.
you could use
You're
it
like,
like
okay,
more
we
like a
need to
Rift
push
Herald. It's
now.
like we need to siege this, and we need to have minions that can actually take some shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
this would be really good for that because before it was like, okay, send the Caitlyn up, pop, 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 it's dead. Unless you
Move
can
on.
catch her, then it didn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
But no, I think this is actually a really good change to make this item actually do what its intended purpose is, and I think you'll actually see it a lot more because it feels to me like this is what ZZ Rot's portal actually kind of should do,
Yeah.
right? And I like, except with Zezrot, it's like, well, come out of your base and blow up this stupid, annoying little molehill I built that shits out things that
Yeah.
blow up kamikaze nerds.
I feel like ZZ Rot Portal just needs to be removed.
I do
I
too.
feel
I
like
fucking
I
hate that
think it's
item.
just either like it's either so strong that like you build it on everyone and just annoy the shit out of the enemy team, or it's not strong enough and it's not worth building at all. Like there's no in between. That's what I feel like.
No, I
Get
would
that
agree
shit out of
with
the
you.
game.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I hate that
Stupid
fucking.
mini games.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like they went ape shit on the mini games. But anyway. Okay, so let's wrap out. We're gonna talk about the runes, and then we'll go from there. So, fleet footwork gets a nerf, which is great because that item was too fucking, or that rune was too fucking strong anyway. Haste goes from 30% to 20%. Crits no longer crit heal. Percent heal on minions goes from 60% for melee to 100% for melee, so that's actually a buff. And then 30% on ranged drops to 20% on ranged. I don't know why they did that. That doesn't make a lot of
So
sense to
they
me.
did that because of how much like range were only the ones using it and just sustaining so much in lane. But actually, one of my friends likes to run Fleet Footwork Mundo and gets a ton of like you would be amazed by the healing he gets from it out of jungling it with 100% melee heal now off that. Like I, he's gonna go ham with this.
Ugh, I just don't like hearing anything about that benefits Mundo. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree,
okay,
but that's what I could see happening. But other than Mundo, a lot of the melees who would take Fleet Footwork, I feel like Grasp of the Undying is just better on.
yeah. So the AP ratio that was on this is now increased by point 0.1, which
Yeah.
kind of whoop-de fucking
Meh.
do.
Yeah,
Like,
meh.
you can make the AP ratio triple that, and it really wouldn't. I guess then mages would start taking it,
Yeah.
but that
Well,
doesn't
it's
really.
like I feel like it maybe helps like Kaisa because you know she takes Rage Blade, so you have
Mhm.
some AP, but other than that, it's pretty meh.
Yeah.
It's such a low amount too that it doesn't change that much.
Okay. So new domination one. It's called Hail of Blades. So Hail of Blades, you gain 50 to 100% attack speed for the first 3 attacks made against enemy champions. If more than 1.5 seconds elapses between attacks, this effect will end. Hail of Blades allows you to temporarily exceed the speed limit. Cooldown is 5 seconds out of combat.
Please, if you're playing Zed, don't take this. I played against the Zed earlier today, and it's not good on Zed. Just take electrocute and blow people up. That's all I.
So what they're saying is this is designed for spell-based marksmen who want to lay down a swift chunk and have his keystone to promote that playstyle.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck are they actually talking about? Who is this designed for? Like
Like,
Lucian? Like
like
no, because
you could say
he doesn't need
Lucian.
attack speed. He doesn't need attack
Yeah.
speed.
No, you
So
don't.
like okay, so here's my general bitch about throwing attack speed on things, right? It's either terrible or it's broken, right? Like think about the fucking two precision tree things. It was like lethal tempo, and then
Mm-hmm.
there was the bonus damage one. There's
Press
like
the attack.
yeah, press the attack. So after 3 auto attacks, you attack super fast, or after 3 auto attacks, you do 30% more damage. You know, well, that one's always better.
Yeah.
You know, because how many more autos are you getting off after 3 auto attacks?
Yeah, and the lethal tempo was as soon as you damaged a champion, it like made your next autos faster.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were like trying to use it on someone like Ash, like oh you poked with your W once and then they walked away, it's like oh you just wasted your keystone, and you
Mm-hmm.
didn't get any actual auto attacks off.
Yeah, it's like this is hot shit
Yeah.
as a keystone. So it's either
So
gonna
we
be
made another one.
yeah, it's either gonna be broken or it's gonna be really good. Oh, so what are we gonna do here? This. This is it. This is the new hotness. Like, no, it's not though. It's
Yeah.
like okay, here's where I get concerned. Because anytime that you use the phrase temporarily exceeds the attack speed limit, I automatically think Kog'Maw.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like,
Kog'Maw's gonna
anytime that
abuse this.
son of a bitch gets to exceed the attack speed limit, he's broken. Like, you see the Korean hackers, like, blah, 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 and then the whole team, like, just dies, right? It's so stupid that and, you know, what's funny is they made Kog'Maw's whole new reworked kit after this exact problem. And then they
Yeah.
scrapped it and they went back because they said, there's no way we can balance this, guys. Oh, we tried. But you know, temporarily exceeding the attack speed limit is beyond us to balance, so we're going to go back. It's got to go back. It's got to be the old kit. So now we have
Yeah.
the old kit and an item that lets you do what made him a problem in the first place.
Hmm.
But it's open to everybody. But he's probably going to be the only one that really takes advantage of that. Because I don't see like how this is useful to really anybody else.
Like maybe like I could see it working on Vayne if you want to like push the silver proc out fast. But even on her, like I feel like fleet footwork is just so much better because it like supplements her surviving.
Yeah, it gives you some sustain. Maybe
Anytime
like
they
a-
have like a
like a-
sustain thing, just overshadows.
yeah, but here's the thing: if you have somebody like Draven or something, right? Like that could be good. You have attack speed, right? And it
Mhm.
goes way up, and then first 3 attacks, and it synergizes with his W. But then this also takes you out of the precision tree,
Yep.
so you
And
don't
that's not good
have.
for marksman.
No, it's like okay. So what do you want this on? Who do you want this on? It's got to be somebody who bursts with abilities.
Yeah.
But what of
Like,
those champions burst with abilities and then want attack speed?
like I feel like they made this for marksman, but the only people I'm thinking of is bruisers. Like Aatrox, I could see this being good on, which Aatrox is a pile of shit anyway, so and like Olaf, it might not be too bad because if you're running someone down, you have all that attack speed, it could be decent. But there's too many other good keystones for Olaf. I honestly can't think of really any others.
Kog'Maw.
Yeah, Kog'Maw is like the one marksman that would take advantage of this. The rest, meh.
Somebody said
Meh.
Misfortune a while back, and I'm like, why though?
No, because you want to be switching like.
Because you're gonna auto,
mm,
and then you're gonna try to use your speed. You're like strut, right? And that's where you're like, so you auto Q auto, right?
Yeah.
But then attack speed is not, so you auto Q auto, 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 and then you're done,
I think
right?
the
Like,
other problem is keystones are good at supplementing when you don't have items. Like it helps those areas in the early game. So you're gonna want the other keystones more than this. When this might like this Hail of Blades might be better late game because of how much damage you could dish out really fast. But if you never get to late game, then it didn't matter. So I feel like the keystones are more about supplementing your early game. Like a Zed who has electrocute versus a Zed who doesn't. Maybe he has some random bullshit like made up keystone that does more damage later game. But the other Zed won lane because he has electrocute, and now he does more damage because he has more items, and the keystone doesn't matter.
right.
So it's like I feel like this isn't worth taking compared to the other ones in the precision tree.
Mm. So, like, Ghost of Ponderous Sealion, what do you think? I just
Ooh.
want to be friends. Ooh. I live in the attic with my three mean uncles. Thanks, Ghost of Ponderous Sealion.
Really in-depth analysis coming from his side
No,
of things.
I just feel like if he was a ghost, he'd be kind of a bitch ghost. You know? Like Casper. He wouldn't be like a cool ghost like Slimer. No. He'd
The
be
way he would haunt you is he'd just complain about everything in the afterlife.
guys,
It's
I'm
so
just trying to
cold.
hunt some shit up here. There's like spider webs where I live. I can't touch them or anything, but it's just like the ambiance sucks.
I haven't even figured out how to make objects float yet. Like, it's so...
I'm a ghost. Rattle, rattle chains. So, anyway, all right. So next one, Ultimate Hunter. So they've taken Ultimate Hat and made it Ultimate Hunter. It's like Ultimate Hat, but instead of on a usage system, it's on a bounty system. So if you kill people, then you get more Ultimate cooldown reduction. So it's 5% plus an additional 2% per bounty hunter stack. You get a stack from killing unique players on the other team.
Another mini game.
Yep. I don't.
Just turning every champion into Rengar.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it is. I don't know that this is any good anymore.
I feel like I would maybe take it on Rengar because having reduced all on Rengar is really scary.
They
and,
turned
like,
Rengar into Rengar.
like you're already trying to get those unique
Yeah.
kills anyways, so you're already supplementing that. But yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, would you not want like something like electrocute or something that's going to make it easier for you to get those
Well,
kills?
this is just one of the subsets.
Is it?
Yeah, this isn't like the main keystone.
Okay, no, that's
I
fair
think.
then.
Yeah. So you're not
That-
taking up a
that-
main keystone
Okay,
spot because
that
would
changes
it
a
would
lot,
really
then.
be like do not touch. Like this is shit. But
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
subset one.
I was going to
so.
say that I don't think I would ever find a way to whose ult is so impactful that you don't need a keystone. Okay, so they replaced old Ultimate Hat with this idea that they're going to do Nimbus Cloak, right?
Mhm.
So in the sorcery tree, you have Nimbus Cloak. This is their statement. Battle mages should feel good about a rune that helps them get or stay in a fight when they push their go button. Right? So Nimbus Cloak. Shortly after casting your ultimate, gain 100 movement speed, decaying over the next 2.5 seconds. For the duration of the movement speed increase, you can pass through units. Cooldown, 1 minute. Cooldown reduction. Unlike other runes, Nimbus Cloak's cooldown is affected by cooldown reduction.
I mean, if you have like I was taking this on Vlad earlier today, and that's really good because when you set down your ultimate and then you're running into the enemy team to try to do damage, that movement speed helps you a lot. I think that's pretty much where you're going to see it. If you're someone who ults and then you're trying to prolong the fight after your ult, like Cassiopeia, maybe Italia, if you jump in with your ultimate and then you want that movement speed for the fight once you enter it. I think it's a decent rune, and you have to think about what you want to do with your ultimate if you want.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like who this works on because before it was a hell of a lot more universal. Like, okay, you have an ultimate, you want to use your ultimate. Your ultimate's good on like everybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now it's like, okay, you want to use your ultimate, but you also want to move around and shit. Like, okay, okay. Um, hmm.
Like Zyra, I feel like could use this because a lot of times you're using your ultimate at the start of a fight. Like pretty much anyone that you're using the ultimate at the start of the fight.
This would be fucking terrible on Malzahar.
Yes. Yes.
It's like,
Ha!
oh fuck.
I
Yeah.
can't go anywhere. I
Wait,
feel like it
wait.
actually could be.
Would it be good on fiddle?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Because
would be.
like if you, but here's the question: does it start during the channel or after the cast?
Shortly after casting your ultimate. So the channel doesn't. It would go after you jump forward, because that's the cast of the ultimate.
Yeah, one would hope. Because if you burned up all your movement speed in the like, I'm a scarecrow part of it, like, oh shit, that would feel so awful. But
Yeah.
that would kind of synergize real well with his passive to
Yeah,
really kind of make
Fiddlesticks.
him go in there.
If you took, because the other thing you could synergize this with is if you have phase rush, like Darius. Sometimes you like to take phase rush for the movement speed, and then you have this too. You ultimate, like you get the damage that procs phase rush, and then you get this movement speed. Like you could be flying around, going super speedy.
Yeah, I mean, it would be helpful for hitting your blade on your
Hmm.
axe. Yeah, that
Yeah,
could be good.
getting to the next target to ultimate.
Very interesting. All right, well, that's good. Inspiration, minion dematerializer. Initial delays to 240. Otherwise, it doesn't change. They
This
thought
is
it was
all.
giving too much wave control too early in the game.
This is
I
all
am,
about taking it mid lane and just getting that first cannon minion with it. Like that was ridiculous that you could do.
yeah. I just didn't feel like I ever saw anybody doing this.
Really,
I don't recall ever being like, oh shit, minion dematerializer.
I was using it in mid lane quite a bit because it's actually pretty insane. If what you could do is you so when you get to the third wave in mid, that's when this would be up, and the third wave you hit your level 3 on either two the cannon minion and one melee minion, or two melee minions, or three melee minions. Killing the cannon instantly with this, and then killing one or two of the melees, can't remember, which is kind of detrimental to my argument here. But killing that would get you to level 3 faster, so then you could jump on the person who's still only level 2.
Okay.
Use it that way.
That makes sense. But I mean, I've just never had that moment in a game where I'm like, oh, god damn it, they used minion dematerializer. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
or
Like,
yeah, that was big in pros too, and there was the whole meta of the banner
yeah,
Baron
yeah,
minion.
banner baron minion, and then you
And it's just like, boop,
dematerialize it.
okay, you're gone. But like that was still just such a gimmicky meta. It's like, god damn it, we
Well,
have
that's
to
the
take
only
the
time
moves.
I saw this be relevant. Because, like, somebody had to take it no matter what. Now it's not that anymore at all. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's one of those things. But, oh, there is one thing I do want to, before we round out, because that's the last thing we were supposed to talk about, but there's one more. Uh, the inhibitor and Nexus turret, they've done something that's really interesting here, which I think is pretty cool, right? The health of those turrets went down by about 300, and then the other one went down by about 900. So inhibitors down by 300, Nexus is down by 900. However, those turrets used to just regen their balls off at 5 HP per 5. So, like, if you got close, but you didn't knock it down, Well, by the time you get back to it and get your minion wave pushed, it may be pretty regenerated, right? Now what they've done is they've tripled the regeneration, which normally you'd be like, but Blake, you just kind of indicated that was a bad thing. Oh, but wait, friend. They did this. Nexus and inhibitor turret health is now divided into thirds. Turrets can only regenerate health up to the top of their current third. So if you knock a turret down to 33% health, it will never regenerate past
Hmm.
33% health again. What do you think of that?
I think that it's just conducive to they want games to end when they should be ending because this like if you get like a good knock into the base, you're going to keep them like at the health. If you end up like having 5 or 10 minutes of shit, like we're dancing around Baron, we haven't been back to those turrets in a while. It's not like they're back up to 3/4 health or whatever, and they're where you got them, and they have lower health, so it's easier to knock them down if you have the correct push. I think it's just rewarding if you have the right timing to be at their base and knock something down, like you can get that done.
Well, see, to me, it like alleviates a super huge feels bad moment, right? Like, let's say you're taking out that inhibitor, and your team gets wiped, and the inhibitor has like 100 hit points left because you did some kind of ballsy play and it didn't pan out. Then they run to Baron, and they get Baron while you guys are respawning, and then they go back to their base, and they just push out the minion waves. And there's nothing you can do, even though you had them like bent over. There's nothing you can do now because
Mm-hmm.
they're Baron minion pushing into you. And so then by the time that wears off and you get back in position to resume your siege, you're starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And that felt like shit.
Yeah, it did.
I liked this to where I at least have like a milestone, like a check-in point where I
Yep.
can be like, okay, well, we got it down to a third. At least we didn't waste everything here,
Yep.
right? So that's pretty cool. Oh, and then the turret gold, the local gold. I want to bring this up because I don't think what they've done makes a super huge difference in the. Okay, let me just read what Riot says they're trying to do, and then let's read what it actually will do. Right? So, what they say they wanted to do is we're looking to decrease the number of truly global objectives to allow players to have a large impact to feel that impact more personally. Accordingly, inner turrets will now provide more of their gold locally and less globally. Right? So, the inner turret local gold goes from 175 split amongst nearby champions to 300 split amongst nearby champions. That's very nice, right?
Mhm.
The global gold reward now goes to 125 gold to everyone to 100 gold to everyone.
Yeah. You're
Okay.
taking.
The only difference this truly makes in the grand scheme of things is your support better get away from that turret before your ADC hits it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that you were already doing that if you
Mm-hmm.
were because you want them to get the most gold. So now it's really going to be people like, why the fuck did you come stand next to my turret? I
Yeah,
was taking
yeah.
the.
Now, really, you need to get away from that turret before they finish it
Yeah.
because it's actually meaningful to give your ADC a full 300 gold. I mean, it was meaningful to give them 175 before, but now it's like this is actually
300.
pretty fucking important, right?
Yeah, 300's a good chunk.
And now, whenever the ghost of Ponderous Sealion bitches at me to like, hey, can you get away so I can get the local gold? I'm gonna be like, fine. Instead of finding a reason to lollygag or, you know,
Oh, my mouse turned
but,
off. Oh,
oh,
no, I'm
but
standing here.
what if they attack you? I better stand right here. Nah, I'm not gonna pull that anymore. I guess. So there you go. So anyway, all right. With that, I guess we will round out the show and sign off. Oh, by the way, announcements real quick. Community games have been awesome. Everybody's showing up. The coaching, I've had a lot of people hit me up for coaching, and that's awesome. I'm super happy to do it. Um, but you have to be the one to follow up with me on that. Like, here's the thing. I'm on roughly every evening at roughly 8 p.m. Central. If you hit me before I start doing stuff, you hit me up in Discord, I will review your game on the spot then and there. Right? Or if
Mhm.
you ask persistently, we may be able to set something up. But realistically, the way I prefer to do it is you try to hit me up before around 8 p.m. and I will help you. That being said, I've had a ton of people hit me up and I say that and then they go, okay, great. And I haven't heard from them again in a long time. So, like, just to give you guys an example, this Monday, this Tuesday, I was online at 8 p.m. and I sat in an empty lobby for an hour and nobody asked me to do shit. So these are available opportunities if you guys want to hit me up. I actually kind of enjoy coaching, but you got to be there and you've got to be ready to go and you have to have the recording and, we can do this thing, right? But I want you in Discord, ready to go, having watched the UNSW Law Society videos. That's super fucking important. And
Yep.
then we'll rock the coaching stuff. But other than that, community games have been great. People are starting to keep statistics on our community games. Like,
Really?
yeah. Dragon got into that. And he's like, I'm going to keep what everybody played and like what their win rate is by champion and shit like that. He's trying to do like better balancing and shit like that. I think that'll be fun. But yeah, it's getting real in
Getting
community games.
competitive.
Yeah. Well, no, I think they're actually just trying to balance better and like
Right.
make a
Yeah.
stronger kind of pick ban list or whatever.
So
So,
we don't have as many role games.
well, I mean, you look at somebody like One Tooth Bear, who's probably a plat elo player, but he's in placements.
Yeah.
And I was
Forever
like,
placement
yeah,
player.
come on, you piece of shit. Like, get in there and do shit. So it
Yeah.
doesn't look like you're silver or something. And somebody's like, oh, well, yeah, teams look balanced. This idiot's in his placements. And then, I don't know why people talk like Mayberry citizens in my mind, like from Andy Griffith. Well, Andy, look
It
at these
makes
teams. They're balanced.
They're just swell and dandy.
Yeah, we're gonna go on down to Mount Pilot. Go and buy me a fur. So anyway, all right. Good night, everybody. Then this is where the ghost of Ponderous Sealion.
Ooh, were you
Ra-
scared? Did I
rattle,
get you?
rattle. Sorry if I scared you guys. It's cold up here.
Spider almost touched me, even though technically it can't touch me, but it
So
almost
spider-
did.
It's got uncomfortably close, guys. This is not cool.
Oh,